After telling everyone I was unemployed, I'm not attracted to you anymore since you got laid off. I need a provider. I replied, I completely understand. Then I accepted the remote job offer for $300,000 in tech that I'd been hiding. Ever wonder what it feels like to watch someone dig their own grave? I did. She did it after she told all our friends I was unemployed. Then she saw my LinkedIn update. And she tried to reconcile. Let me tell you, it's better than therapy. I'm Ryan, I'm 33 years old. By profession, I'm a risk analyst. My entire job is to look at complex systems, find the weak points, and predict disasters before they happen. I'm good at my job, but I didn't predict this one. Her name was Jenna. She's 31, a PR manager. We had been together for 4 years. 4 years of what I thought was a partnership, but I was wrong. I was looking at the wrong data. Jenna didn't just want a relationship, she wanted a perfect brand. She was meticulous about appearances, how things looked to her friends, to her parents, to the anonymous faces on her social media feed. I was part of that brand, the stable, successful provider component. A key asset in her portfolio. Things were serious, or so I thought. We had just put down the deposit on a high-end condo, $80,000. It was a massive step, a foundation for a life. It's important you know that $80,000 wasn't a 50-50 split, not even close. 70% of that deposit came from my savings, my discipline. I was investing in our future. Jenna, I realized later, was investing in a status symbol. She was always looking at the next thing, the upgrade. I valued stability. I wanted to build something solid, something real that could weather a storm. Jenna valued image. She was obsessed with what other people thought. This expensive engagement party, the one we were standing in, the 60 guests, the fancy restaurant, the floral arrangements that cost more than my first car, that was all her idea. She said it was, quote, essential for our social image. I saw it as a 5-figure liability. She saw it as marketing. I was so focused on analyzing the financial risk of the party, I forgot to analyze the risk of the person standing right next to me, and that was the disaster I failed to predict. Then came Tuesday, a grim gray Tuesday in March. I got an email at 8:05 a.m., subject line, mandatory all-hands strategic restructuring. In the corporate world, strategic restructuring is just a 2-word memo that means your keycard is about to stop working. By 9:30 a.m., my entire division was gone, including me. I was laid off, effective immediately. I was stunned, but I wasn't panicked. As I said, I'm a risk analyst. I had a 6-month emergency fund. I knew my skills were in demand. This wasn't an apocalypse. It was a setback, a new problem to be solved. I called Jenna first. I expected, support reassurance. I said, Jenna, I have some bad news. I was just laid off. There was a pause on the line, a long, cold, calculating silence. Her first words were not, are you okay? Her first words were not, don't worry, we'll get through this. Her first words, sharp and analytical, were, what are we going to do about the mortgage? Not our mortgage. The mortgage, as if it was some abstract external problem. A line item on a balance sheet that I had just endangered. I didn't have an answer. I said, I don't know yet. I'm still processing this. She said, well, you need to figure it out, Ryan. The party is on Saturday. My parents just flew in. Click, she hung up. And just like that, the warmth was gone. The 4-year relationship, the partner I thought I had, she vanished. She was replaced by a PR manager assessing brand damage. I realized her support was never unconditional. It was a line of credit and I had just defaulted. The next 2 weeks were clinical. I spent my days doing exactly what a professional does. I updated my resume, I networked, I sent out applications, I treated finding a job as my new full-time job. Jenna, however, was busy. She was always suddenly very busy. She was busy with finalizing party preparations, which mostly seemed to involve long, hushed phone calls in the other room, the door clicking shut. She was busy with managing her parents' schedule. Most of all, she was busy with her phone, which was suddenly glued to her hand. It was angled away from me every time I walked into the room, but I saw the name on the screen over and over. Mark. Mark was the investment director she always talked about. The one with the killer instinct she so admired, the one whose opinion on the condo's neighborhood she had valued more than mine. She wasn't just planning a party, she was hedging her bets. She would look at me sitting at my laptop on the dining room table, and I could see the calculation in her eyes. I wasn't her fiance anymore. I was a depreciating asset. She became cold, irritable. Everything I did was an annoyance. The way I made coffee, the fact that I was still in my sweatpants at 10 a.m. while running financial models for my job search. She was distancing herself, building a case, creating a narrative of my failure to justify her exit. The red flags weren't just flags anymore. They were giant flashing neon billboards. And as a risk analyst, I decided it was time to stop ignoring the data, so I let her plan her party. While Jenna was obsessing over flower arrangements and texting Mark about the guest list, I was doing something else. While she was planning a party based on a fictional version of our future, I was secretly planning my actual future. I didn't waste a single day. I hit the phones. I called every contact in my network. I spent 8 hours a day in interviews, technical assessments, and salary negotiations. I wasn't just looking for a job, I was looking for leverage. The market was tough, but my skill set is specialized. I had 3 interviews on Wednesday, 4 on Thursday, then on Friday morning, just one day before the engagement party, I got the call. It was from Cybercore Analytics, a major competitor to my old firm, a place I'd been in talks with months ago, but the timing was never right. Now hearing I was suddenly available, as they put it, they moved fast. The regional director didn't waste my time. He said, "Ryan, we know who you are. We know what you can do. We don't want to just offer you a position. We want to build a new risk division around you." The offer was not a lateral move. It was an elevation. Principal risk architect, fully remote, and the compensation package made me sit down, a base salary and stock options totaling $450,000. $450,000? I was thrilled. My first instinct was to run into the living room to tell Jenna to show her that everything was okay, that we were stronger than ever, but then I stopped. I thought about her cold voice on the phone. What about the mortgage? I thought about her hiding her phone. I thought about her texting Mark. I thought about her looking at me like I was a bad investment. And a different kind of calculation took over. The analyst in me. This was a data point. Her reaction to my failure was a crucial piece of data I'd been missing for 4 years. So I made a strategic decision. I told the director I would sign the offer letter immediately, and then I said nothing. I told myself I would make it a grand surprise, a huge reveal at the party tomorrow, a moment of triumph for both of us, but a colder, more logical part of me knew the truth. I wasn't planning a surprise, I was setting a trap. That night, Jenna was in the shower. I opened her laptop. She had the PowerPoint presentation for the party queued up on the desktop. It was named Jenna Ryan Love Story. It had all the photos, us in Mexico, us at her parents' house, us smiling at the camera, a perfect brand. I scrolled to the very end, past the final thank you for coming slide. I clicked add new slide. I went to the Cybercore Analytics website, downloaded their high-resolution corporate logo, and centered it on the blank page. Underneath it, I typed 2 lines. Ryan, my last name, Principal Risk Architect. Starting package, $450,000. I didn't change the font, I just saved the file, closed the laptop, and waited for the party. Saturday, the party. The restaurant was exactly as expensive as I remembered. 60 guests, her parents, my parents, friends, colleagues, a curated audience for her brand. Jenna was radiant. She floated through the room in a white dress, holding a champagne flute, laughing. But she wasn't laughing with me. She spent the first hour glued to Mark, that investment director. I watched them from across the room. She was touching his arm. He was leaning in, whispering. She was looking at him with an admiration she hadn't shown me in months. I wasn't hurt. I was just collecting data. My father clapped me on the shoulder. He said, "Tough break about the job, son, but you'll bounce back. You always do." I said, "Thanks, Dad. I appreciate that." Jenna's mother, however, just gave me a look of pure, concentrated pity. A look you give a 3-legged dog. It was almost time for the speeches. The laptop was set up by the projector, the love story presentation open on the screen. Jenna caught my eye. Her smile tightened. She gestured for me to follow her. "Ryan, can I see you for a second?" She led me away from the noise, not to the patio, but down into the private wine cellar. The air was cold. The door clicked shut, muffling the party. She didn't look at me. She just stared at a rack of expensive wine. "Jenna, what's going on?" She took a deep breath the way a PR manager does before delivering bad news to a client. "Ryan," she said, her voice flat, "I can't do this. I just stood there. I didn't say anything. I let the silence hang. She finally turned. I can't marry you because of the job, I stated. It wasn't a question. It's not just the job, she said, which always means it's just the job. It's what it represents. This whole situation, I realized I can't be with a man who doesn't have ambition, a killer instinct. She looked at me, and for the first time I saw her exactly as she was. The realization was cold, clinical. This wasn't a partner, this was a transactional partner. Our 4-year relationship wasn't a bond, it was a balance sheet. And I had just become a bad investment. For a person like Jenna, love isn't a commitment, it's a merger. And she was backing out of the deal because my stock had just taken a temporary dip. She wasn't looking for a husband, she was looking for a blue chip stock. She was right. I wasn't a killer. I was a builder. She, on the other hand, was an auditor, and I had failed. I'm sorry, Ryan, she said, her voice softening, trying to manage my reaction. I didn't want to do this here, but I can't go out there and pretend. I can't lie to all those people. She slid the engagement ring off her finger. The ring I had paid for. She held it out to me. I'll go out and tell them we're taking a break, she whispered. It'll be easier for everyone. She placed the cold ring in my palm. And then she turned and walked out of the cellar, leaving me there in the dark next to the expensive wine. I looked at the ring. I felt nothing. No, that's wrong. I felt clarity. I took a deep breath, and I followed her. When I got back to the main room, she was already by the small stage microphone in hand. Her eyes were glistening. She was performing. Hi, everyone. She started, her voice breaking perfectly. Thank you all so much for coming. Ryan and I have something we need to share. She was about to control the narrative, to paint herself as the victim, to paint me as the failure. Wait, Jenna. My voice was calm, but it cut through the room. Everyone turned. 60 faces. My parents looking worried. Her parents looking confused. Jenna froze. This wasn't in her script. I walked past her. I didn't even look at her. I walked straight to the laptop. You're right, I said, picking up the second microphone. My voice was amplified now. You deserve honesty. Everyone here deserves honesty. Jenna's face went from confused to panicked. Ryan, what are you doing? I placed my hand on the mouse. You were about to give a speech about our love story, I said to the room. And you prepared a wonderful presentation. But I felt it was missing something. A final chapter. A new beginning. I looked at her. You said I lacked a killer instinct. Her eyes widened. I clicked the mouse. The presentation slide changed. The photo of us faded, replaced by the stark professional slide I had made, the Cybercore Analytics logo, and the words, Ryan, my last name, appointed principal risk architect, starting package $450,000. Silence. A total dead absolute silence. You could hear the ice melting in the glasses. I watched 60 faces process the information. Then from the back, Jenna's father, a man who ran his own logistics company, a man who only understands balance sheets, was the first to speak. His jaw had dropped. He looked at the screen. He looked at me. My God, Ryan, he boomed. Congratulations. That's a powerhouse firm, principal architect. My God, my father understanding just broke into a massive grin. The room exploded into applause. I turned back to Jenna. She was white, a ghost. She was staring at the number. 450, she stammered the microphone, still live, carrying her whisper to every speaker. You lied to me. I leaned in, my voice cold, but clear enough for the microphone to catch. I didn't lie, Jenna. I just didn't correct your assumption. I held up the ring. You showed me your data, so I showed you mine. I looked at her. You wanted killer instinct. This is it. Her mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. Across the room, I caught Mark's eye. The investment director, he saw the number. He saw Jenna's face. He saw me holding the ring. He did a quick risk analysis of his own. He slowly, deliberately pulled out his phone, turned his back to her, and walked straight to the bar. He was done. Jenna just stood there, her entire brand, her entire future imploding in real time in front of 60 people. I put the ring in my pocket. I turned to the crowd, raised my champagne glass. Thank you all for coming, I said. This party turned out to be for a different kind of engagement. Please, I said, my voice calm, enjoy the lobster. The aftermath was quiet. Jenna didn't scream, she didn't cry, she just deflated. Her performance was over, and the standing ovation wasn't for her. She walked out of the restaurant. Her mother followed, looking furious. Her father, the man who understood numbers, paused by my table. He looked at me, not with pity anymore, but with a strange kind of respect. He just shook his head, not at me, but at the empty chair where his daughter had been, and then he too was gone. My parents came over, my mom hugged me, my dad just pointed at my plate. "That's a lot of lobster, son," he said. "Are you going to eat that?" I did. I stayed. I ate my lobster. The party had been paid for after all. The next week was all business. Jenna refused to speak to me, sending all communication through her lawyer. She wanted her name off the condo agreement, and she wanted her portion of the $80,000 deposit back. She assumed I'd have to sell. She assumed I'd be trapped in a legal battle. She was wrong. I sent my new employment contract to my bank. They were, as you can imagine, very accommodating. I didn't just get her name off the lease. I got a new mortgage based on my new salary and bought her out. I sent her a certified check for her exact contribution. Not a penny more, not a penny less. It wasn't revenge, it was accounting. That was 6 months ago. I'm writing this from a balcony in Lisbon, Portugal. My job is fully remote. The condo in the city, I rented it out. Turns out it's a fantastic passive income stream. My life is quiet now. I work, I travel, I surf. Jenna tried to text me twice. 2 long paragraphs about how I had misunderstood, how she had just been stressed. I didn't reply. I just blocked the number. This morning, I was cleaning out old files on my laptop. I found the presentation, Jenna Ryan Love Story. I stared at the icon for a moment, then I moved the cursor, right-clicked, and pressed delete. A small box popped up. "Are you sure you want to permanently delete this file?" I clicked, yes. This story feels good because I won, because I got the $450,000 job. But I've thought about this a lot. We're all biased by the outcome. What if the job offer hadn't come through? What if I was still unemployed? Would her betrayal have been less real? Would my decision to accept her words have been wrong? No, the victory wasn't the paycheck. The victory happened in that wine cellar. The real victory was, in that moment, I saw the truth, and I chose my self-respect over a toxic fantasy. The money is just a bonus. The freedom, that's the real prize. That layoff wasn't a disaster. It was the final risk assessment. It exposed the fatal flaw in the system, and I passed. The lesson in all of this is pretty simple. Never, ever let someone else define your value. Don't lower your price just because they can't afford to see your worth. True strength isn't about having a killer instinct in the way Jenna meant it. It's about having the quiet confidence to know what you're worth and the cold clarity to walk away from anyone who doesn't. Have you ever watched someone completely miscalculate another person's value and pay a heavy price for it? I'd be interested to read your stories in the comments below. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to Project Checkmate for more real-world strategies and life's little checkmates.